Sanbonani nonke makhaya. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I'm coming to you live from South Africa. It's your girl, Zamuqolo Tenjiwe Matungandaba, also known as Zama Matungs, also known as Maddy T, also known as It's Maddy Money. And I'm welcoming you to another fantastic episode of Maddy on Everything. Yes, guys, welcome to another episode of Maddy on Everything. This is episode 6. We are going in, we are going strong, we are building a baby, we are building a ship, a rocket ship, mind you. So anyway, let's get right into it. So for this episode, guys, I wanted to kind of like let you guys into the world of femininity, being a woman. I kind of like want to have a series or do a series where we kind of just talk about, certain issues that women face or just things around, the feminine nature of being a lady and, what it means to be, Mother Earth, if that makes sense, like the source, Mother Earth. But guys, leading on from the last episode, which is about the makeup and, getting ready with me, I just wanted to go on with, kind of topics that are kind of geared to women. But you know what? This topic today is not just for the ladies. It's also for the men as well. Because I'm going to, topics, because I'm going to be covering like, a couple of things in the time that we have together. So we're going to be going over, or starting the process of the insert of Maddy on legals. So that's where I'm going to be giving you guys some professional tips or professional advice around the law. Because as I told you guys, if you've been following from episode 1, I'm an attorney, notary, and conveyancer. So I am an officer of the courts. I am an attorney, notary and conveyancer of the High Court of South Africa. So that is a big part of who I am. As much as I'm an artist, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an entertainer, I do all these other things. I'm a podcaster. Now, I am a lawyer, so I have to include that, and I do enjoy the work. And if it can help anyone, like I said, this podcast, I want it to be entertaining. I wanted it to be informative. So we're going to be just diving into Maddy on Legals, where we'll be talking a little bit about customary marriage here in South Africa, and then we'll also be having a little bit of a chat with another insert that I'm going to be piloting with you guys, which is Maddy Ministers or Maddy Ministries. So in Maddy Ministers, I'm going to be just talking about a very, very topical part of the Bible that I see these days all over the Twitter streets. Look, if you're not a Christian, it's okay. It doesn't mean you have to leave. It's educational, right? So I welcome everyone. You don't have to be a Christian. You can be Islam, you can be Jewish, you can be whatever you want to be. We're just trying to progress, right? So I'm going to be reading a little bit from the Bible, and we're going to be talking about the Proverbs 31 woman. Guys, if you're not on social media if you're on social media and you have not seen anyone talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, then I'm not sure what social media you're on. And then last but not least, we're going to end it off with another insert that I'm piloting, which is Maddy T. Maddy the T, guys. So on Maddy T or Maddy the T, that insert, we're going to be just, what is tea? It's that gossip, giving you the tea. I'll be giving you guys just a little bit of the lowdown on the latest gossip that I've come across in recent times and just, my thoughts about it, as per, the last previous episodes where I spoke about what was topical in the news, current affairs, social current affairs. I'll be doing the same today. So let's get straight into it without further ado. Cool. So guys, marriage is a union between people, often two people who love each other. And they decide that they're gonna, they love each other, they get married, they want to start a family, or, they want to build a life together. And I always like to tell people that I believe that, you know what, that's the airy fairy side of marriage. But if we have to take it back and we have to actually consider where marriage comes from or what the idea of marriage is that marriage is a joining of two families, you know? So a lot of the times, you know, historically, you would find in certain communities even that people didn't even get married to people that they chose themselves. You know, some marriages were arranged. So that goes to show that it's not really about, you know, I love this person, but marriage has an underlying political, social, and kind of proprietary element to it, right? So as an attorney, a notary and conveyancer, I always try to inform people or give people the perspective to say that, you know, guys, when you get married, it's not just like, oh, I love this person and you know, I want them to be the father of my kids. There are so many considerations that one has to have. And, you know, it's all good and well when everything is going well in the beginning and, you know, there's the honeymoon phase. But guys, people get divorced. People annul their marriages if you're in America, you know. So the divorce rates in South Africa are extremely high. I don't have the numbers offhand right now, but I think that it is something like, I don't know, 40% of people that got married in the last 2 to 3 years or something, you know, got divorced. So there's a lot to consider when you are going to be taking that next step in your relationship and saying that, you know what, I actually want to take this person on as my wife or as my husband. And, you know, for today, you know, as I am based in South Africa, I'm a South African, you know, attorney, notary, and conveyancer. My context is within South Africa. So that's kind of the audience that I'll be speaking to in terms of my you know, the legal views of today. However, I encourage anyone else who's living in another country to drop their comments to let me know if there's a question that they would want answered, because we do deal with other countries, or I do deal with other parts of the world and their laws and how they relate to us here in South Africa. But I just wanted to give a disclaimer that today's discussion is more directed to somebody who is living in South Africa, or he's dealing with the legal issues here in South Africa. So without further ado, let me go into the meat of it. So I was giving you an introduction around marriage and how, you know, the consideration of marriage and how serious it actually is when you decide that, you know, I want to marry someone, not just because that's who you're saying you want to spend the rest of your life with, but from the proprietary consequences, the social and the political consequences of deciding that you're going to be getting married. But more specifically, I want to talk about what we find here in South Africa, which is customary law, right? Or customary marriages. Now, South Africa has a very, very interesting legal system because of the fact that we come from, you know, apartheid, and we come from, you know, colonialism and imperialism. So we have this interesting system where we have the indigenous laws of the country, which are what we call customary law. These are the living laws that were found here in South Africa when Jan Smuts or whomever, Jan van Riebeeck and Lord knows who decided that they were going to come to South Africa to see what was going on. I mean, South Africa, it's always been the place to be, clearly. So they had their laws that they brought from England and, you know, wherever they came from, and they brought them to South Africa. But they found us here in South Africa with our own laws. So that is why we have this very interesting system, which is like a hybrid system of the original law that was found in the country, which is the customary law. And then you have your Roman Dutch law / I won't say it's really English law, but it has, you know, influences from English law. You have your Roman Dutch law, which was being imported into the country as our own law, and that law was what actually became the basis of our common law, which is basically law that is not necessarily legislated or put in some sort of act or bill. It's common law that's just generally been accepted that this is what the law is over time, right? So I know I don't want to get too technical with people who are not lawyers, but I just wanted you guys to understand the difference between the law of the land that was found here and sort of the imported law that we got from, the Jan van Riebeeks and I don't know who else came from where, right? And the point that I'm making is that we have these two separate systems of law that are coexisting in the same place. Now, why is this important? This is very, very important in the context of marriages for, young men and women in South Africa. Now, I'm going to use the term black in loosely, okay? I'm going to you say that it is mainly the black people in this country, or the African people or people of African descent in this country of South Africa that subscribe to customary law or that live in accordance with customary law, right? So that is the audience that would really have to take into account what I'm saying, because most of the time our white counterparts or our Caucasian counterparts, they are not really subscribing or living according to the law that was found here in South Africa. They are living according to the imported laws, right? So I just want everyone to just be on the same page with that one. So now, as a Black South African, more often than not, when you're going to be getting married, there is a lobola situation or a lobola ceremony that happens where the uncles will come and knock at your door. You guys know better. They come from your husband's, your intended bridegroom. The uncles will come and knock at your door and say, okay, we would like to have the daughter of this house be our daughter now, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to go into the technical issues of how lobola is done. That's for another day where you guys are going to actually educate me, and I'll get someone in to let us know how things are done culturally. But for today, we're talking about the practical legal implications of this process. So what I want people to know today is that from the moment your uncle decides to go to your intended bride's house and start knocking, and they open for your uncle and your uncles and they say, okay, come sit down, and now we're going to be negotiating lobola. From that point, once that lobola negotiation is concluded and, by virtue of the initiation of that process, my lady, my gentleman, you will be married in community of property in terms of customary law. Customary marriages are marriages in community of property. That is the default position for a marriage that is of customary law. So we'll get into that a bit later about why I'm talking about married in community of property, but that's something I want you to understand. A marriage that is customary law is in community of property automatically. And the moment that your uncles go and knock and initiate the process of taking this woman to be your wife, and the moment that your parents open the door and they accept the uncles and initiate this process of handing you over to your family, the next family, as a woman, you are, for all intents and purposes, customarily married. Because you have begun the process, you have initiated the process, there are negotiations that are going on. It gets a little bit more complex, it gets more nuanced, because there are certain issues or instances where, it does not really, depending what your culture is, it might not really count, depending, what tribe you follow. You might be able to say there wasn't really a marriage because we didn't do 1, 2, 3. But for all intents and purposes, or just standard, how it's accepted across the board of customary marriage is that the moment that those negotiations begin, you are pretty much considered to be married, okay? And so I just need people to understand this, and why I feel like I had to share this today on the podcast, because I think it's really important. A lot of people don't know this. And I'm going to pause there and then go into, the significance thereof. And then just to speak a little bit more about the other marriage sort of regime, or no, I won't call it a regime, but or let's say the laws that dictate marriages would be just a normal marriage in terms of the Marriage Act, right? So remember I was telling you about the customary laws of our country, and then we get the civil sort of Roman Dutch or legislated laws of our country, right? And the Marriage Act just gives you a normal marriage that is just, not in terms of customary law. So there's also that. And that's what most people do. The white people, the black people, the Indian people, the colored people, everybody just usually, gets married in terms of the Marriage Act as well, right? And there's also nuances there because a lot of us as black people, we will go and get lobola, we have lobola, and then we also go sign at Home Affairs. So do you even know what's going on with your marriage? But anyway, if you don't, you can come ask me. You can ask me at a later stage. But that's all I'm just trying to give people that information and, let people understand what's happening. So now you understand that there's customary law, you understand that there's the imported law, and then you can get married customarily through the Marriage Act. And then we also do get same-sex marriages in South Africa. I'm just going to add that as just a sidebar that we do get same-sex marriages. Or if you don't want to, if it's not necessarily a same-sex marriage that you want to do, but you don't necessarily want to get married in terms of the Marriage Act, then you would get married in terms of the Civil Union Act. So the Civil Union Act is you will have a civil union, but it will be solemnized as a marriage, right? So this is to cater for same-sex marriages that we do recognize here in South Africa, and also to cater for the instance where you don't necessarily want to get married in terms of the Marriage Act and be called a husband and a wife, but you would rather be considered partners in a civil union, right? So those are the options. Now back to the positive matter, which is all about this femininity and just empowering us as women, So as a woman, and as I said, it's for men too, but often the men know. I don't know why, but the women often don't know what's going on, right? So as a woman, I want you to understand that when your husband comes to get lobola or bring lobola to your home, you will be considered married in community of property. Now, what is married in community of property? What does that even matter to me, guys? Okay, so now let's just quickly talk about that. So earlier on, I mentioned the different marital regimes that you can get in South Africa, right? So that's what the regime is what I'm talking about. You can either be married in community of property, which means that financially, your debts, mainly financially, I'm talking economically, everything of yours is together. So you can be married in community of property, married out of community of property with accrual, or married out of community of property without accrual. So those are the three marital regimes that we have in South Africa. So a customary marriage is automatic married in community of property, which means what? Which means that if you have a house that you bought yourself, my sister, and you have a house that you bought yourself, my brother, and the moment you guys go into this lobola negotiation, now those things are joined. They are together. They are yours together. You guys have both 50% shares in all of that. You understand? So that's the idea. So if your husband is owing 100,000 at the bank and you owe nothing, and you guys get into that lobola situation, without any kind of prior contract, ding ding antenuptial contract, ding ding prenup, as they would say in America, that 100 million debt or that 100,000 debt is your debt as well, my sister, because you wanted the lobola and you didn't get your contract. So this is the risks that I'm highlighting to my ladies and to my men out there today. It's just, I'm educating you guys. I'm highlighting these risks to you guys, okay? So I'm not going to go on more about that because I need to move on to my other topic that I want to, kind of get to in today's discussion. So I'm not going to go further with this with this particular conversation because I can see I was checking my time out. My time has run out. But I just wanted you guys to know this. And the short part that I'm going to add is to say that if you don't want your marriage to be in community of property, what you do is you sign an anti-nuptial contract. Hence, I was saying ding ding. You sign an anti-nuptial contract, which will make your marriage either out of community with accrual or without accrual, right? So that will make sure that your finances, your debts, things that you own, and all those things stay separate, right? But it gets more complicated. There are more things to discuss, right? So because that's my timer, I'm going to cut it there, guys, okay? And if you guys want to know more about this, you're more than welcome to just drop me a comment. I will respond to you. Send me an inquiry on my legal website, which is www.m&mlegal.co.za. That's M for mother, A for apple, N for Nelly, D for dog, M for mother, legal.co.za. So www.m&mlegal.co.za, and we can carry the conversation forward. But I just want everyone to be protected and for them to know what they're getting into when they do certain things. So let's move on to the next part of our show. Okay, guys. So for the next part of our show, I decided to bring in a new feature called Maddy Ministers or Maddy Ministries. And that's because, you know what, guys, I'm a big spiritualist. I want to say I'm hyper religious. I'm a spiritual person. So I like to read the Bible, but I like to read other religious texts. So please, guys, I want us to share what we think. If you're Islam, if you're Jewish, if you're, something else, if there's another religion or have another belief system, please do share with us what I'm about to read, how it relates to you or other texts or other passages in your own religious reading that we can refer to that have similar ideologies as to what we'll be going through with Maddy Ministries. So with Maddy Ministries today, I want to talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, right? So a lot of social media has been going on about the Proverbs 31 woman. And what they've been saying is that, essentially it's just about how to be a good wife and things like that, just the formula to be a good wife. And I just, I read it and I meditated on Proverbs 31 on my own. And I think I came up with some key insights and I wanted to share with my ladies, my ministering or my interpretation of some of what the Proverbs 31 woman could mean, or what I believe it to mean, or what the Lord was saying. So I'm going to be reading Proverbs 31 from verse 10, okay, to verse 31. So it talks about the capable wife, and I'm reading from the Good News Bible because, different Bibles have different texts. So the capable wife, how hard it is to find a capable wife. She is worth far more than jewels. Okay, so I'm going to stop and read and comment. So guys, being capable, being put together as a woman. Remember I said it's all about this femininity. It's more prized than having fancy things. It's more prized than having a fancy bag, having a fancy car. A woman with a good head on her shoulders is gold, okay? And a lot of people have said this in different ways, that when you empower a woman, you empower for other people. You don't just empower her. And that's the thing about women. And check those facts. It's been said that when you empower a woman, you know that you're empowering a community, because that's just how women are, right? So a capable woman, using woman and wife interchangeably, is more precious than jewels. Her husband puts his confidence in her and he will never be poor. What is up with all the entitlement from the women these days? A man must do this. A man must provide. They are saying that her husband puts confidence in her and he will never be poor because of that. This woman engenders or fosters confidence in people. They like her husband trusts her to handle business. This is what he will, and he will never be poor. Why would he never be poor? Because she handles business. She's not there begging, sitting there asking for a handout. She's handling business. Her husband is confident in her, right? As long as she lives, she does him good and never harm. So always have your intentions in the right place, my ladies, okay? It's not about the husband in the book, okay? I am ministering. This is not about don't do your husband any harm. It extends to other men as well. Have a soft heart, have a soft demeanor about you, and always have a good intentions and a pure heart. And never intend to harm anyone. This is, what a good wife and a good woman is. Have you ever noticed how when a woman has attitude and she's always too spicy, things never really go well for her in her life or in her marriage, or she be disrespecting her husband and whatnot, or disrespecting people? So let's turn it down a notch, right? And on verse 13, she keeps herself busy making wool and linen. She brings home food from out of the way places as merchant ships do. Guys, she keeps herself busy. That one is key for me. I'm repeating. She is hustling. She is keeping herself busy. So many people are glorifying the idea of a housewife. Look, I don't want the housewives to come at me right now, okay? But people are talking about, I'm a housewife. Yes, I know that raising your kids and, taking them to school and making sure that the house is clean and cooking and cleaning as per, the Proverbs lady who brings home food is part of being a good wife, it's all part of it. But all I'm saying is she keeps herself busy making wool and linen cloth. Like, I'm not against being a housewife, but what are you doing that is productive? What are you doing that is adding to the home? Are you doing something? I surely hope you are. I surely hope you are doing something to add on to the home, and that you're not just depending on your husband for money, because that is so 1938, okay? She gets up before daylight to prepare food for her family and to tell her servant women what to do. Listen, she is not sitting around, lying in bed, waking up late. She is up early. She is a boss. That is another thing. She is a boss. She is up early telling these other ladies, telling her servants, her gardeners, her employees what to do. She is leading by example. So she's up early. She is letting the people know this is what you need to get done. These are the plans for the day. Okay. She looks at land and buys it. And with money she has earned, she plants a vineyard. She was making cloth and linen. She made her own money. She bought land. She planted vineyards on it. She's about to make wine on the vineyards. Okay, I'm actually going to stop right there because, actually, let me just stop at verse 17. I wanted to read it all to the end, but because I'm ministering as I go. She is a hard worker, strong, and industrious. She knows the value of everything she makes and works late into the night. She spins her own thread and weaves her own cloth. Guys, I'm going to leave it there for the Proverbs 31 woman and say, Proverbs 31 woman, guys, it is talking to you. It is talking to you. And I'm sharing this because a lot of women are struggling. A lot of women are wondering why things are going wrong in their relationships. A lot of women are confused about the idea of femininity, thinking that femininity is only just about makeup and looking pretty and just sitting back while the husband goes out and does the work. The Bible says no. The Bible is saying that's not it. I have other texts that also say that. There's a book called Why Men Love Bitches. And it's not bitches as in, it goes on. Google it, Why Men Love Bitches. And the lady goes on to say, one thing you should never do, like one of the rules, is never, ever, leave your job or, leave your source of income when you get with a guy, right? And she goes on to explain what is her rationale or her reasoning behind that. So I just want to let you guys know that, even the Bible says so. So some of y'all be crazy right now. A man must do this for me. A man must provide, But what are you doing? What do you bring to the table? Are you working late at night? Are you what do you bring to the table? And that's really what I want to leave you guys with. A lot of women say, oh, I want a rich guy. I want a rich husband. The quickest way to get a rich husband or a rich man is to become a rich woman yourself. And that is what I am sharing with you on today's Maddy Ministers. So let's move on to the last part, and I'm closing this off. So guys, the last part of our podcast, episode 6 for today, is just giving you a little bit of tea. So recently, what's been the tea in South Africa, guys? Okay, so y'all know I'm an artist. I'm a hip hop artist, R&B and hip hop. So I'm obviously in the community and I'm checking what's going on. So recently, the biggest tea that I saw was a very popular South African rapper turned Mapiano artist, Sizwe Alkaline / Reason, going off on some podcasters because they were talking crazy about his girlfriend. Okay, so have a look. So I just wanted to make, that is the big tea. I just wanted to make a comment on that to say, y'all, if your man is not standing up for you the way that Reason did for his girlfriend Gigi, what is the point? Guys, what is the point? Major T, major T. If that man is not standing up for you the way that Reason did, what's the point? What's the point? And also, what is this thing of men thinking, random people thinking that they can compare people who is a downgrade from who? What do you even know? What do you even know, guys? Guys, let's keep it cute. Let's keep it kind. And, let people be. Let people be, okay? But all I just wanted to say is shout out to Reason, because all I'm saying is that is the example. Apparently, he went there uninvited, shocked everyone, surprised everyone, and was just like, y'all not going to be talking crazy about my girl like that. So shout out to you, Reason. We think that all guys should be behaving like you. Kudos to you. I think you get the prize for best boyfriend of March 2025. So guys, without further ado, it's been amazing. So I'm going to leave it at that and say, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave in the comments any other topics that you would like explored, either from a legal perspective or even if you need some questions from a spiritual perspective, holla at your girl. I got you. And let me know of any interesting tea that has popped up on your ends. From my side, I'll be saying sayonara. I'll see you on the flip side.